Well, hello, everyone. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts Media based here in Seattle, Washington. Thank you so much for joining us for the first inaugural episode of What You Seek is Seeking You, featuring actor Drez Ryan. And I'm very excited to get this recurring series started. For those that have watched some of my other YouTube and Twitch videos, this is the third recurring series. Shameless plug, I just did episode 4 of the first series, which is Conversations with Kate. We just did that yesterday. And then Selena Says is the second recurring series. She's actually out in Los Angeles right now doing a lot of work. So we're trying to figure out if we're going to be able to do something this month in March. If not, I know she's going to be back home by April 2nd. So then we'll definitely plug something into April. We just have to kind of be fluid with everyone's schedules, including mine. Speaking of which, Selena was, let's see if I can point this right. She was nice enough to send this yesterday. So it's a nice 8x10 that she signed, sent a couple stickers, and also a really nice handwritten note that she put perfume on. That was interesting. So that was there from yesterday. And yeah, so these are scheduled to be monthly. And with every guest that I do, these are supposed to be uniquely theirs. So I'm trying to make sure that the recurring series are not like, well, Mark, I saw you do that on, Kate's, and then I saw you do this one on Selena's. It's like, no, they're very different than what we do. And typically when I've done these to start off with, we go through topics, the guests and I, well in advance and try to figure things out so that when we go live, we have a set list of topics of what we're going to talk about. And with my guests in particular, we only sent one email, which was, let's do this live. And so you feel like you're all part of the foundation piece of where this particular series is going to go. As always, please, if you have comments or questions or you have topic ideas, put them into the chat through YouTube or Twitch. If you're watching this down the road, you can always leave a comment on YouTube, or you can DM me directly through Instagram, Eclectic Arts Media, one word. And I will definitely get back to you about your input, or if you have criticism or things of that nature to kind of be aware of. Just as a side note, I would like to thank everyone who's been supporting me on this YouTube virtual journey since May 22nd, 2020. Today I hit 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. So that's an amazing feat. I'm really excited about that. Let's get to 4,000. Let's get to 5,000. But when I started that tour with Alice back in, again, May of 2020, I think my channel had maybe like 300 subscribers, and I wasn't even really aware of like what that did, or the algorithm or anything else that worked on it. But doing these live streams, I definitely have become aware of that. More subscribers, more views, more likes, more comments, more everything. It helps with everything that I do, including just from a monetary side, that this streaming service costs me money every month to do. So I love doing live streams and having this as an option for what I do as a media person. But at some point, it becomes like, is this really worth it based on what I have to pay? So if I can offset that through YouTube, if I can offset that through tips and donations through PayPal or through Venmo, which are linked right in this very YouTube video right now. It's also on my Twitch page. Then that's always great and very, very appreciated, but only if you're in a position to do so. I know what it's like to not have 2 pennies to rub together, kind of like right now, actually. So, yeah, I always love doing these things, and we're going to kind of get to it and just kind of go live for roughly an hour. And I did have somebody ask me about one of my other recurring series, so I can mention this now. Why am I doing it only an hour, where sometimes it goes hour and a half, 2 hours, some of my one-on-one interviews? So I want to make sure that we're staying to an hour so that we have kind of anticipation basically for the next month and the next one. I don't want to be doing 2 hours and then, man, we just spent 2 hours talking about something. Now we're going to do 3 hours, in April, and 4 hours in May. Said, no, we're going to make sure that have you come back and keep listening to what we're doing. So at least that's the mindset right now. I mean, 6 months from now, maybe my guests and I will change our mindset. We want to do 30 minutes. Maybe we want to do an hour and a half. I don't know. That's up to the guests and I to kind of figure out, with your input, of course. So without further ado, I would like to introduce this gentleman. I just did a recent interview it was last month, so a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We first got connected through a wonderful feature film back in that was what, the end of the beginning of 2022, and also the end of 2022. And so he's always been such a great guest. And I like the way he thinks. I like his approach. I like his energy. And so after the last interview back in February, I approached him about doing this series, and he was all about it. So I'm really looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's introduce Drez Ryan. Hi, Drez.
Hey. What's up, man?
Not much. How are you?
Swell, brother, swell.
Yeah, so it's going to be awesome to have you here. This is very different than, well, for me it's different than a one-on-one interview, because it's supposed to be collaborative. It's supposed to be you and I, not me dictating to you or the guest or whoever about hey, this is what I want to do, especially for the interviews, because as a guest, you just need to basically show up and hopefully be pleasant and then talk. I have to do the heavy lifting, because sometimes I have guests that don't want to talk. Mm-hmm. And I have to make them comfortable. I have to make sure that they have a good time with what they do, and they feel that they didn't waste their time with me. We can basically waste each other's time.
Hey, man, I'm good at that. Let's go. I like doing things I'm good at.
Well, and I appreciate your support in the backstage room, as I mentioned, the 3,000 subscribers for YouTube.
Yeah, man. I didn't know. That was good news.
It is. It's such a game to play, and it's one that I have to as a media member. And I kept thinking, God, I'm at 2,990. Come on, there's 10 more people out there.
Right. That's why you, when you're that close, you just start saying 3,000 subscribers, because like it's any day now it's gonna happen. You just call it in, just like, hey, 3,000, we're there. Hey. Nobody's gonna be like, hey, you're at 2,998 actually. You're like, nah, man, 3,000. Yeah. There's a guy I like watching, Tyrone Magnus. He does a lot of like movie reviews and stuff like that on YouTube, and his tagline is 10 million subscribers. He doesn't have 10 million subscribers, but that's his tagline. There you go. 10 million subscribers. So every time it's like, hey man, speak into existence. That's why we're here.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's like a fake it till you make it.
Hey, dude, trust me. I have been subscribing to that a lot more lately. It's more beneficial than you think. It's like, at the very least, I feel better about myself right now.
Okay.
At the very least, and this is my rock. At the very least, you know what I'm saying, I feel better right now in this moment by pretending that I'm where I want to be or whatever,
Well, positive affirmation.
Yeah. And just a little like it's easy to just feel crappy about your circumstances when they haven't changed yet. So how do you feel better about them before they've already changed?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting. I get caught up in. I have a kind of a weird back and forth that I end up doing in my head a lot of times, especially with the media outlet, of like, I know some good things are coming, and they might be solidly on my schedule, but then my brain will kind of flip back to like, well, you just lost those other three things though. It'll come almost like the angel and devil on the shoulder stuff.
Yeah, man. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to mention that I've been really getting better about not listening to the devil part of it.
He loud, right? Loud as shit.
Yeah. I just want to smash him sometimes.
Yeah. I've been tussling with that too, man. And what's really cool? It's like the perception of that thing just, it's just the unknown. That's all that is. It's literally the unknown, just saying, hey, you don't know what's going to happen. And so because you don't know, then anxiety, fear, and doubt come in, because you don't have it solidified in front of you. So then it's like, hey, but it's not real yet. It's like, it is real. It's coming. It's like, yeah, but it ain't real. It's like, shut the hell up if you give it a second. This is like that bit Bill Burr. He did. Oh man, this might be a controversial topic, but he did a bit about a controversial topic, and he used the analogy of baking a cake. And he talks about how, if I bake a cake, if you put all the ingredients of a cake into a pan or whatever, and then you put it in the oven, and you tell somebody, hey, I'm baking a cake, come over, and they come over and they take the cake out of the oven and then throw it against the wall, You're gonna be like, why'd you ruin my birthday cake? And they're like, well, it wasn't a cake yet. It's like, well, it would have been. Just okay, let it cook. And that's what those those thoughts are, those doubts and those fearful, anxiety ridden thoughts. It's just like, it's those voices that won't allow the good shit to cook. It's like, just let it be, like, let it cook, man.
No, that's a great analogy and a great tagline from Bill, because I think especially for creative folks, that those voices are there constantly.
Constant.
You might be riding the wave up here, and then maybe you have 6 months. I'm like, man, I'm not getting auditions. I'm not getting whatever. Yeah. And you're like, what the hell's going on? And then you kind of have to realize that you got to step back. You got to let this process kind of happen. Yeah. And at the same time, you also got to make sure that you are, doing everything that you can on your end, because sometimes I know for myself, I'm like, yeah, I could have been doing those film festivals, let's say last spring, but I kind of let them just slip past me. And that was actually on me, because I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this stuff right now. And the next thing I know, the deadline's come and gone. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm not doing them. But at the same time, if I am doing everything within my power, within my balance of my life, then I got to make sure that, that's good. And then some things just aren't going to happen, and that's all right.
Yeah. And allowing them to allowing yourself to accept them for what they are, and not being so, disheveled over it, what it's not. It's like, well, I saw it. We talked about this last time. I saw it this way in my head. I need it to be this way. If I don't see it this way, the way I saw it here, then it's not complete, or it's not right. And it's like, and like I said before, well, when did you become a fortune teller? When did this thing become a crystal ball that the world is going to look exactly how you planned it right here? It's like, no, you have an intention, you made moves, you put the energy out there. Now you have to allow it to settle in the way it settles. So, you never know how it's going to look.
Yeah, absolutely. And with my guest that I had yesterday for her series, we were talking about how there's definitely, when you look back at your life, there's certain things, certain moments that happen that kind of shifted you, if that's personally or professionally. Yep. I talked about, like, with these live streams, that I had no clue about how to do any of this stuff. I had no interest in it. And it was somebody that I interviewed back in 2017 that took the time to say, hey, Mark, we're doing this virtual tour during 2020 because we can't play anywhere. We loved how you interviewed us. How would you feel about opening up our tour? And they're down in Los Angeles. So I'm like, I just couldn't. I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't have like a nice laptop or nice technology at the time. I had no money because I had lost my job. And so I'm like, I have my iPhone. Is that good enough to do this thing you're talking about? Yeah. And then they put me to the guitarist who's the tech guy. And he said, oh, yeah, Mark, what iPhone do you have? I said, I like a 10S or whatever. So that'll be fine. We can test it and everything. And it's just, are you okay doing this for 30 minutes? And we're going to do like 15 dates right out of the gate. And I'm like, well, that's different for me, because I'm not used to like back to back to back to back. Yeah, to back.
It's like, isn't that crazy though? It's like those times where there was just like this lull of just nothing, and all of a sudden there's this explosion of everything.
Yep. That's exactly what that was, because like every person.
That's exactly what that was.
Yeah. I was, sitting on my couch like a vegetable trying to figure out, what am I going to do now with the media outlet? I mean, I can't be anywhere. I can't shoot anything. I can't necessarily write about, in-person events at that point. And that's also why reviewing films happened during the pandemic, because I was at home, and I won't get into that whole long story because that'll take forever. But it's just interesting that, if you look back, I can think of that moment when their singer reached out to me about doing the tour. I can think about when I made some changes in my professional day job careers over the course of years, and when I purposely left certain things. I'm kind of burnt out on this. I don't think I can do anything anymore. And then 10 years later, I ended up back in that world because I'd already kind of had time to kind of center myself again and kind of get back into it. Yeah, so it's interesting that it's true, I think, of everybody, that you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to come. But when it happens, especially in hindsight, you can like, oh, yeah, look what happened right then. Yeah. I was least expecting it.
Yeah. Yeah. We tend not to realize when we're literally living our dream. I had this conversation with my partner the other day, lovely wife to be. I was talking about when I was in my early 20s. All I wanted, because I was still living at home in my early 20s, right? And I was like, all I wanted was my own place so I could have a girl over. That's all I wanted. I just like, I need my own place so I can have a girl over, have a girlfriend, but and I'm sitting here in my own place, and I got a girl here. I got a girl here every day. No, I mean I have a beautiful, beautiful woman that loves me, but it's just like it's like those things, those little things you say to yourself over your life, like, oh, I wish this or I wish that, and then all of a sudden one day you have it, and you're not even appreciative of it because you already done tacked on 10 other things you wish you had.
Very, very true. And
Mm.
I think about, I don't know if I still have it in my backdrop, but some of the people I've been able to interview in person, I
Mm.
was a fan when I was like a teenager. You know, it could be
Yeah,
an actor, it could be Jeff Bridges. And it'd
yeah.
be like, that'd be just awesome just to meet him. Had nothing to do with doing an interview or any of this kind of stuff. Because
Just wanted to meet him. Yeah.
yeah, I'm such a huge fan, and I love this kind of stuff. And then yeah, in 2014, I think it was 2014. Yeah, that's when I actually did meet him. And so yeah, all these kind of flashbacks of those feelings are
Yeah.
kind of like, this is why this moment means something very different to me, because it's been what 20 plus years of me kind of building this up, and sometimes that can go either way. I found out.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it's been very much for the positive for me, especially in his case. He was amazing. He was everything you
Sure.
would think he would be.
He
Uh,
seems the authentic type. Yeah.
he is. He's like your favorite uncle or favorite grandparent type of
Nice.
person.
Nice.
He's got no ego to him. I still remember when he was talking to me, he was saying, even though I know his father was Lloyd Bridges, his brother's Bo Bridges, he would say that just in case I didn't know. Oh, my dad, Mark Lloyd Bridges, he was in
Yeah.
this and this and this, and I worked with my
Yeah.
brother, Bo Bridges. He was saying their names and introducing them.
He's being a regular person that would not assume you know their entire family.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, like yeah, like oh yeah, your brother. Like if he was like some Joe you were talking to, that'd be the proper thing to do. My brother, my father is like, but we assume celebrities aren't going to be like that. We assume they're going to be like, oh well, you know me, you know my, you know my
yeah.
family. Yeah.
No,
Mm.
that's exactly true. And I'm thinking, especially if someone with his career, had an Academy
Right.
Award nominations, Academy
Right.
Award that he won, and
Yeah.
thinking this guy could be a giant prick, and he was
Anybody
completely
that plays
not.
the dude can't be a prick, man. You can't be the dude. Like, here's the thing. Like, here's one thing I'm also learning a lot when it comes to acting in particular. The people that have these historic characters, these unforgettable characters, like the dude in Lebowski and stuff like that. The reason why those characters work so well because that is a real part of those people that got those
Yep.
parts. That is absolutely a real part of those people. There's no way you can play somebody that well and that not be a natural part of you somewhere, somehow. And that goes both ways. The ones that play the psychos and the cool people. So just say, so just saying, you can't play a psycho that well, and you ain't a little bit of a psycho. Like, come on, man.
That's that. You know what? I completely agree with that, because he
Yeah.
does have qualities of a mix of the dude and like Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
And
There's
most memorable characters, because
yeah, he's
that's a part of him somewhere. Those characters are a part of him.
it reminds me of like some of the professional wrestlers have talked about that when their career finally took off, it was their personality times 10.
The
That's
Rock
what
is
it
my
was.
favorite story of that.
Yeah,
The Rock is
yeah.
they try, and dude, don't get me started on wrestling. We can go all day. I'm
Oh boy.
easy now, easy now. This can go from what you seeking you to Royal Rumble real quick. So, 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 no, The Rock tells that story beautifully when he was coming up. You know, they try to give him to be the baby face,
Mhm.
the blue blood or whatever. And he was smiling and and people were hating it. They're like, "Oh, Rocky sucks," and blah blah blah. He had the poofy hair, Rocky
Mhm.
Maivia, all that kind of stuff. And then when he got with the Nation of Domination, and he said, "Hey man, let me get on the mic real quick. Like let me just talk as me. Just let me give me 5 minutes to just say what I gotta say." Because up until that point, he was the baby face, but he was treated like a heel. The crowd hated him. They booed the hell out of him. And it's like because he wasn't being himself. And as soon as he started talking that talk, soon as the rock us and then doing all that, and then and oh man, it was history after that, dude. The dude, and you talked, and in the documentary that I was watching when he talked about this initially, they interviewed Warren Sapp, his teammate from the Miami Hurricanes, and they
Mhm.
were like, "That's him. Like him acting like The Rock. Like that's how he acted. Like obviously he's not like that all the time, but that persona is very much him. Like that's that bravado, that confidence. Like that was him on the football field. And now he's doing it on TV. So it's just like that, and when he was himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe this, I'm writing this down right now. That might be something as a separate episode for the future
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
about wrestling.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Yeah.
also thinking, obviously, his counterpart in Stone Cold Steve Austin, very
Same thing.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Texas Rattlesnake. You know, he was stumbling
He
around
had,
in
he
WCW.
had that blonde hair and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
man.
he gets fired when he was injured, goes to
Hmm.
ECW, and then he ends
Yeah.
up in WWF at the time. And
Hmm.
when they kind of found that, you know what, you're just kind of this Texas badass that drinks beer and does all this stuff, and you're going to be anti-authority, which you kind of already are because you're pissed
Did
off about a
did
lot of
you
things.
remember the story he told about how he got the name? His name, Stone Cold.
Yeah, drink your tea before it gets stone cold. It came from his wife, I believe, at the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
they're straight Stone Cold. Yeah, because he was
yeah.
watching because they were. Remember, he was trying to come up with a name, and of course, the creative people at WWEF at the time were giving all these shitty names. I remember
Yep.
that part of the story, and he got done watching this documentary about that killer, the Iceman, that
Hmm.
mob, the hitman or whatever.
Yep.
And then yeah, then his wife comes in with that beautiful line, "Drink your tea before it gets stone cold," and he's like, "There it is, yeah, there it is. It's a wrap." Oh
Yeah,
man, I
yeah,
love that.
and
I love that stuff, man. We gonna have a 2 hour episode when we talk about wrestling. I'm gonna tell you that, right? Oh man.
yeah, no, it's interesting to me because I think that was last year. I had a guest who I had no idea, and she was a musician from South Korea. We were doing like
Mhm.
a two guest thing. There's another guest that was in over in, well, I don't know where. Oh no, he was here. He was local,
Okay.
and he does local luchador wrestling here.
Nice.
And
Nice.
but I had no idea. So when I got these two together and the three of us are talking, she was a big wrestling fan.
Yeah, isn't it funny? It's like a lot. There are a lot more who are. We just don't advertise it.
Yeah, that was very true. And I'm like, I couldn't have put this together in my wildest dreams, thinking that she would have an interest. It was just purely based on their personalities. I thought I think
Hmm.
they'll have a good time talking to each other. And then she started talking about all the Raw episodes and SmackDown and all the other stuff she used to watch, blah blah blah. And I wanted to hold up a
Hmm.
sign, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is
Oh,
great because
dude.
I
Oh, that's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no I rarely get to talk about that.
Oh, you really get to talk about wrestling?
Yeah, I rarely get
Oh,
to talk
dude.
about it.
I mean, I'm a little out of the loop when it comes to the current stuff, but anything up until about '06, '08, I'm pretty knowledgeable.
You know what? We're in the same boat because I started going to live events late. It was around maybe 2001, 2002.
Hmm.
And so then, like when WrestleMania came here to Seattle, I went to that. I went to fan
Nice.
events. I went to all this stuff. Went to a couple pay-per-views, SmackDown, Raw tapings. And so what's going on now, I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't, I don't know. I don't know.
I,
I,
I don't
I
follow.
tuned back in when The Rock came back for a little while. They were doing something with him and Roman Reigns and Dusty Rhodes kid. What's his name? Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're on that road to WrestleMania, which should be
Yeah.
what is it? Is it next month? I think it's usually like right around
Well,
now.
that storyline, that's like I think that was last year or the year before storyline.
Oh,
The
okay.
whole Rock, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. I think that was like last year, or the year before, one of them. Yeah.
Okay, because I know they had a thing where John Cena just turned heel on
Oh, did
his.
they? Oh, see, I haven't caught that one. Yeah, I haven't caught that one.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like on his retirement tour this year,
I
and
did hear
people
that.
thought,
Yeah.
yeah, people. I think he was wearing a T-shirt too, and at some pay-per-view or something that The Rock was at and Cody was at, he turned heel. So
Okay.
that's the whole thing. That's like people are just stunned that he's got this whole different persona going on and everything. It's like
Yeah.
that's really cool.
It is cool, man. That's good for John. Like I was like he came in a little late for me. Like I was all Attitude Era, like full on, just all Attitude Era. So by the time John Cena became John Cena, I was already kind of phasing out. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so I missed the John Cena wave, but I got to, you got to give credit where credit is due, man. He was, one of the biggest superstars in wrestling for forever. So I mean, yeah, he did his job. He was a great face for the company for a good minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw him at the fan access before WrestleMania here in
Mm,
whatever year that was. It's WrestleMania 19, and so they had different stations. They had like a exercise thing over here. They had like a photo thing. People wrestlers come in, you get autographs from them,
mm,
and you never knew who you were going to get. So you had to sign. There's like 5 sessions you could sign up over like 3 days. So you never knew who you
mm-hmm.
were going to get. And I just remember the first session I went to, I only went to 2 of them. I went to Thursdays, and there was John, and he was not the John Cena we know. He had just signed with the company, and he was over there talking about workout tips because he's been working out forever.
Dude's a beast, man. Dude's a beast.
Yeah, and he just had like regular trunks on and maybe like a tank top or something. And yeah, he was not thugonomics. He was not can't see me. He was none of that stuff. and
Oh, the jean shorts.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the memory I have in my head of him when anybody brings him up is that I remember him, talking about his workout, and there's maybe like 3 people there listening to him because he was nobody. He wasn't the Stone Cold or the Rock or anybody else at that point.
That's why you just got to keep talking, man. I had this thought the other day, and this is probably getting us back on the general theme of the of this hour. But it's I was thinking to myself the other day, the concept of it's crazy until it works. That concept, it's crazy until it works. Like if you have a message that you truly believe in, or you have something you truly like want to put out there, want to get out there, when you first start putting it out there, you're probably going to get laughed at. You're probably going to get looked at a little weird, because if it's something that is truly near and dear to your heart, then it's unique to you. And therefore, a lot of people won't understand it because it's unique to you. It's unique to your experiences and your perception. But it's like the more you kind of practice sharing it, or practice, I guess living it, you start to believe it even more. So it becomes more part of you, so that the conviction becomes stronger as you continue to speak this message. And eventually that conviction, that truth that comes out of you, that confidence, that picks up the ears. And then people start like, wait, what is that person talking about? They've been talking about it for a while and they haven't shut up. So maybe I should take a listen. So it's like that thing is like he was just, talking, and whoever would listen. And then it becomes one of the biggest stars ever in the history of the business. And it's like when you have a vision so clear for yourself, or when you have a message or something, it's like, man, just keep talking, just keep on the path of whatever it's bringing you to. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how in retrospect, looking back on the experiences that guided you to where you are right now, and that whole thing too. So it's like that's the thing. It's like you keep, as long as you're in line with the thing that you truly, is your gift to bring into this world. Like, you take the action along the way to do it, and you just keep believing in it, keep talking it, keep speaking it, keep doing it, and then it just eventually becomes true. You know what I'm saying? It's like the moment and it's not necessarily the moment it becomes true to others. It's the moment it becomes true to yourself, because anything we try to do, we feel like a phony when we try to do it, right? When we first start trying to do something, we feel fake and we feel phony. So it's like the more you do it, and the more you tell yourself that you're doing this thing and you can do this thing, the less phony and fake it becomes, the more the truth becomes your own truth. Therefore, as you speak, people realize you are speaking the truth because you believe it to be true, but you had to understand your belief and your truth first. Long-winded. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's well said, because I've said it many, many times on my live streams about that. I'm staying the path for what I do as Eclectic Arts Media, and then I believe that the audience will come to me.
Yeah,
and
your audience will find you. Your audience will find you. Yep.
Yeah, they said, well, Mark keeps doing this, and if they go back 5 years, if they go back to in-person things, like, he was doing this stuff back then. It's nothing new. It's nothing new to him. So, wow, you cover a lot of different eras. You cover a lot of different genres of music or film or whatever. It's like, this stuff's been there, and now you finally found me, and I'm so glad you're here. And let's take off together, because here we go.
And that's the thing, man. It's like, it's not about trying to see what you can do that's the shiniest. Like, what's gonna attract the most eyes? What's gonna catch the most moths? It's like, no, like, you doing your thing like nobody else can do it. That's your thing. That's what brings the moths to the flame. Is like, that person does this thing only the way they can do it. And there's nowhere else we can go for this product, because this is Mark. This is Mark's product. This is Mark. He's birthing this of his true, of his experience, of his essence. So it's like, you're not going to get that anywhere else. And that's why we have to do those things that truly speak to us right here, because that is our gold. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that nobody can replicate.
Again, very well said. And that's the whole thing about being the best version of yourself.
Yeah, man.
And that's what people, as you keep doing and you keep believing and you keep getting confidence, people start kind of like that, kind of perking up, like you said earlier, like, what's going on over there with that
Yeah.
guy? He's still doing it. He hasn't gone away. He hasn't changed his message.
Hasn't gone away, hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Hasn't, eyes for, this reason. I mean, obviously we go through things. We have dark nights of the soul. Sometimes we don't show up as our best selves, man. But that through line, your why, that thing is always there.
Yeah, your why. I always talk about intention.
Yeah.
What's your intention of what you're trying to do in personally,
Yeah.
professionally in life, and because that will kind of help guide you in hopefully the direction you're trying to go and the goals you're trying to achieve. If you don't know what your intention is, you need to figure it out.
Yeah, was that not ship without a sail, but kind of like that analogy I heard. It's like, the ship going out of the harbor. Every ship leaving a harbor has a destination, otherwise it would just roam the open seas. You have to have a destination, and then you have to, obviously make the proper adjustments on your path to stay the course, because obviously you're going to get waves, you're going to get rocks, you're going to get storms, you're going to get icebergs, you're going to get everything. We're going to get all that shit. So it's like that's the focus, the why, and the intention. Like you said, honestly, I feel like the intention is like, it's like the fuel of the action. Obviously, you have to have clear intention to then take the proper action. You know what I'm saying? Like you generally have to. Like if you sit there like, okay, I want to be rich. All right, that's it. Like what? Then so that's all your intention. Your sense, I want to be rich, and then that's it. You're gonna do any and everything you can, and you're gonna go this way. You're gonna try this. You're gonna be all over the place. But it's just like, wait, no. What is it that you like? Yeah, everybody wants to be rich. What is it that you're actually searching for? What do you think rich is gonna give you? A lot of people is control. A lot of people is freedom. A lot of people is resources to do this and that. It's like, so what is the thing that you're searching for in that rich, in that wealth? Because everybody, yeah, money is money. Everybody wants money. But there's something that you're lacking internally that's making you think you're going to get it from having money. So what is that?
Yeah, see, this is one of the reasons why I wanted you to do this series, because your mind goes to these places that really causes you to pause, to think, to reevaluate.
It doesn't go there. It's trapped there. It doesn't go there. I'm like y'all are on safari, and I'm the little, the person, and like, hey, I've been here for 75 years. They won't let me go. I'm not a part of the attractions, I swear. No, I hear you. I hear you though, man. No, I hear you.
It works. It works well for me.
No, it's just yeah. I grew up an only child, so thinking is just kind of always been my safe space. Going into my head, going into my thoughts, going into my own world. I kind of had to develop that, just because I was only child, so I spent a lot of time either alone or with other adults. And when you're a small child, well, when you're a small child raised in a southern setting, there's certain things like as a child you don't when adults are talking you don't speak, so you're just kind of a fixture in the room. So so as an only child, I was around adults or I was alone, so I spent a lot of time not speaking, so I spent a lot of time thinking.
And
So
here we
here
are.
we are. Yeah.
I do want to say hi to Joshua. He talked about he's gone heel hard, meaning John Cena. When we were talking about
Oh,
John.
has he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's gone heel hard. But Drez, you just kind of talked about something in terms of your background, and I realized we probably should have talked about this as a foundational piece earlier in this episode.
I like being mysterious.
I think this is a good time because we have at least 25 minutes left to
Sure.
give the viewers and listeners out there some about your background, about who you are and kind of what brought you to where you're at now. And you can tell as much or as little as you want. And then I'll do the same thing once you finish up.
Sure, man. Well, long story short, I was born March 2nd, 1990, Bradenton, Florida. I was told it's around 4 a.m. And then shortly after that, we moved to New York. So we were in Albany, upstate New York, until I was about 4 or 5 years old, and then we went back to Florida. And there I spent my days until I was 15. And my mom remarried after my parents split up when I was 13, and I moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and stayed there for about 3 years. Graduated high school, took my happy ass back to Florida because it was too cold. Literally, like it was like a month after I graduated. I'm like, all right, mom, I'm out. I'm going back to Florida. It's too damn cold up here. And then after about a year of being in Florida and just bopping around trying to get a job, I actually became a certified nurse's aide. So I was working in nursing homes and stuff, taking care of old folks. Did that for, well, tried to do that for a little while. Did training and all that stuff in how in the hospitals and the care homes. Uh, but then after about a year being in Florida, I realized ain't nothing in Florida for me. So it's just where I was from. I was familiar. So then after about a year being back in Florida, I had some family in North Carolina. Moved there, tried to take up my CNA career there, but the state of North Carolina does not recognize out-of-state licensing. So I was told that at that time I would have to redo not just redo my testing, but redo my training all over again that I had just completed in the state of Florida, like take the classes and everything. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that because I just spent all that money to do it in Florida. And I'm not even sure if it's really what I want to do with my life. So why would I pay the money twice to be certified in something I'm not even sure it's what I want to do? I just thought it was a good job to have. And then so at that moment, I just went to work. I got a job at a call center. I got a job at a warehouse. I got a job at a restaurant. I got a job at a car dealership. I got a job delivering furniture. I got a job putting furniture together. I got a janitor job. I've done a vast array of different jobs, and at one point, I had to ask myself, what the hell is it do I actually want to do? Do I just want to just bounce around from job to job and just get like, go work at FedEx and, retire and, what? So, and then at that point, it was like, well, that question that every person coming out of high school or college is like, well, what were you good at in high school? What were your interests in high school? And I thought, well, my favorite class was sociology. I'm not going to be a professional sociologist. So what's next? I played football. I'm not going to be a professional football player. So, all right, what's next? And then I thought, well, I never got to join theater. One, because I never saw acting as an option. I don't come from that background. My family, you played sports or you became a preacher. That was pretty much it. That was pretty much it. I got some family that went military. But other than that, I got preachers and ex-athletes in my family as far when it comes to the men. Good men though, very strong men. Anyway, but yeah, so I thought, oh well, I remember being a part of this group. When I was in Minnesota, I went to this school that was predominantly a white school, Caucasian school, and it was literally like 2-3% minority. And that was a culture shock for me because the school I went to in Florida was 98% minority. It was all either black or Hispanic. So I went from one extreme to the other. And so there was this little group they had for the brown kids. They can hang out after school and have a little community. Like, yeah, I know it's only a few of y'all, so we got a little group. We got punch and stuff. Come hang out. So one year they got the idea to do some like live performances for anti-bullying, like depicting how to handle bullies in school and stuff like that. So being a part of the group, I performed in the skits, and within the 1 year, I and then 1 year I joined a class. I'll let you guess what the reason was I joined it after I tell you what it was. I joined a class called Fashion and Merchandising. Why do you think I joined it?
Girls.
Boom. And so 1 year I joined fashion and merchandising class, and we put on a talent show, and I hosted talent show. So I was emceeing and doing this. So I realized there were moments where I was doing performative stuff, and I remember having a great time doing it. And I remember like people giving me compliments and like, you know, like, oh man, this is fun. Like I like the rehearsal process, like all of it, like being in front of people, like all that. I remember I was about to go up and MC this show, and I was co-hosting with this young lady, Lauren. I remember her name, and I don't remember her last name. But we were about to go on stage, and she, you know, like most people, she's nervous because public speaking is one of the biggest fears of anyone. And I'm sitting there like, ah, it's cool. We about to go out there, boom, boom, boom. And like I'm, you know, I'm in my element, but I don't even know I'm in my element. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like I'm digging it. And you know, and she me like, well, it's easy for you to say. This is like your calling. I know she was being like, you know, whatever, but you know, that stuck with me. Like, I'm not saying that emceeing, but it's like performing, being like I felt alive in those moments. Like I those moments are so vivid to me because I was so excited in those moments. So it's like, okay. So I think about how I felt doing those performative things. I think about, you know, the way people reacted to me doing those performative things. I'm like, well, maybe I could do something with that. So I went on Craigslist as a 20-year-old. This is sorry, fast forward. So now I'm 20. I go on Craigslist looking for acting jobs. Not the best place to do, especially not in 2010 when Craigslist was still pretty shady. But luckily I found a legit low budget, no budget little, you know, group that was making a movie in town. I auditioned, got a part with, you know, didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, I'm not going to try and see what I can do. And from that moment on, acting was the thing.
Wow. That's...
There's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. I see, like Josh was talking about, y'all are talking real, and it's helping me a lot today. So that's great. I'm glad, Joshua, that you're joining us, and that Drez and I are just kind of shooting the shit, and it's resonating with you. And
hell yeah,
we're all very real. We're very real people, and we have great days, and we have complete shit days too.
Ooh, yeah, you want to talk about one of those? Tell me your shittiest day. Go.
I'm writing that down for a topic.
There you go. Shit days on the next Maury. What about you, man? What about you, Mike? Where'd you come from, man?
So I'm as local as it gets because I was born in Seattle.
Okay.
But I was raised out in a suburb called Kirkland. And so like when my mom was pregnant with me, my dad was having this house being built. So I only lived in Seattle for maybe a month or two once I came into this world. And then, you know, the house was ready and we lived in Kirkland. And that house is still the house that they live in to this day. So when I go visit them, there's the room that I grew up in, which is now like it's their computer room.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I have an older brother who's 4 years older than me. So Kirkland, for those that aren't familiar with the East Side, well, we call it the East Side because it's the East Side from Seattle. There's Seattle, Lake Washington is a big body of water, and then you've got Bellevue, which is where Redmond, Microsoft is based. Kirkland's right next to Redmond, so you can kind of figure out that back in. I'm older than Drez, so if you go back to the 70s, in that kind of area, being away from Seattle, we were maybe one of two Asian families.
I mean,
there was just no color out there at that time of any kind.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's black, brown, yellow, whatever, it was white upon white out there. So all my friends were white except for I did have one Japanese, oddly enough, friend from elementary school, and he lived not too far from me. But we were the oddballs. We're absolutely the oddballs out there, and that carried into junior high. We got a few black folks in junior high, and I remember we had. I remember their names.
a whole set, huh? The blacks are in. We got a new set of blacks.
This is so awful, but
that's great.
It was a brother sister. It was Sean and Raquel. I remember them because they're very cool. I really like them. And we had Marcus, so he had a name close to my names. That's why I remember Marcus. Yeah. And then we got a few Mexican or Latin folks that came in junior high. And then when I got to high school, definitely a few more Asian. But when I say definitely, it's like maybe 5 to 10% at that point instead of 1%. Yeah. And I was big time into music, big metalhead, long hair, the whole bit. People find I'll find a picture and put it up next time when we do a session.
Oh yeah,
we can kind of do the little laughing moments of what Mark used to look like.
I'll bring one of mine too. It's great.
That'd be cool. I had dreams just like everybody else, which was basically, wishful thinking at that time that I would be in a band and tour the world and all that kind of thing. And I'm Asian, so my Asian parents are like, no,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Are
figure
they
something.
are your parents like? Are they you have immigrant parents, or are they from here?
They're both born here, so
Oh, okay. Okay.
we're as Americanized as you can be. I don't speak the
Okay.
language, and neither do they. But their parents did speak the language, so I
Sure.
hear it around grandma and grandpa for the actual Japanese
Yeah,
talk.
yeah.
But so I went the community college route, got my AS degree, and then at that point, it's like, well, God, I got 2 years left of this 4-year college here in Washington State that I had to transfer to. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and so I was always told I was good at writing all the way back to elementary school. They sent me to these workshops when I was in 4th grade, went to a university, and it was just really weird because I didn't even understand why I was there. You're with kids all through Western Washington, bus to this college, and you're doing these writing workshops and you're reading stuff that you wrote. And I'm like, well, this is fun. I like writing about, make believe stuff, but I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And that just kind of stayed with me. So when I was trying to figure out a major, I thought, well, maybe I'll major in English and teach it. And then I started taking some classes and realized I only like to write. I don't like the rest of this stuff. I don't want to read about the Puritans. I don't want to read about these things. I'm like, I just like to write. So, okay, scratch that. I've been a musician for most of my life. So then it became, well, maybe I'll teach music. And I'm like, I think I maybe smartly did this. I didn't want to teach something I loved. I thought it's going to really kind of just get on my nerves about, man, this kid doesn't give a shit about, what he's doing here, and it's bugging the hell out of me. So
well, if you're coming at it like that, yeah, it's probably going to be a bad time. If you're a teacher, like, you don't love it like I do, you bastard. You wouldn't die for this music.
Yeah. What the fuck's wrong with you? At least at that point, I realized it. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I ended up taking a class in exceptionality, which is people with special needs. I had actually worked a summer job around where I was around adults with special needs, and I liked it. I liked working with them. I was actually a manager at one point.
My dad used to do that, man. When we lived in New York, my dad actually worked at a home for adults with special needs. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I thought, you know what? Let me take this class in college and see how this goes. And I found it really interesting and fascinating. And so then I talked to my advisor about, what are the options for this kind of thing. So basically, Mark, you're most likely would be going into teaching if you want to teach special education. I said, okay, that sounds good enough to me. We'll just kind of ride this wave and see where it goes. And I can minor in elementary education. So if I don't like special ed after a while, I can maybe pivot to something else into the mainstream.
Yeah.
And so, right out of college, I taught for 7 years special education in a junior high setting.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's my background there. And then there's so many other things. But then I wanted to make a shift. So I worked as an audio engineer at a computer company. And so this was back right at the end of the .com era. So right before things blew up, I got a job. So unfortunately, that was like not work to me, especially coming from the teaching world. I mean, it was just so goofy that I'm getting paid to work with sound and create loops and stuff. But it wasn't going to last. The assignments weren't coming in. So the writing was on the wall. It's like, you know what? They can't keep you around after a while. They laid about 5 or 6 of us off on the same day. And I was the only audio person. So it's like, yeah, okay, this is my first time being unemployed. I don't know how this works. I don't know what this system. And let me tell you, this system, at least in Washington State, it sucks. That's a whole other thing that I could go on forever about.
You said the unemployment system in Ohio? Washington State.
Unemployment. I'm trying to navigate that system.
It's rough, huh?
It is. It's very rough. But luckily, once I was working again, I ended up working with students. But these were students that were long-term suspended or expelled from the Seattle school district. And so these are basically gang-involved youth, probably 95% of them. And they're all in one room with me. So that you can imagine that was a very tough.
It was what was it? Not. I was trying to think of that. What was one of those movies where they do the old cliche of the teacher comes in and changes the kids?
Stand and Deliver.
Comes and changes the kids' lives. They put a do-rag on them and they start dancing with the kids. And that old thing they do in the movies. The teacher, the suburban teacher comes to enter the city and just changes everything. That's it.
Yeah, there's tons of those feel good movies about him being. Yeah,
Was it
that
like
was.
that for you? Did they put a do rag on you and teach you how to dance?
Uh, they did not, but I can tell you that growing up again in a suburb, going into inner city Seattle was very new to me. It
Mm-hmm.
was something where it took a while to figure out these students I was working with and what their lives were like. And
Mm-hmm.
what I found out, especially since they're like 12, 13, and 14 years old, was
Mm-hmm.
that they were really no different than any other kid that age at their
Yeah.
core. They're not
Yeah.
any different,
Yeah.
but they got all this other extra crap on them that I wasn't used to working with.
Yeah.
And well, once I understood that, and they understood me, and again, we could talk about this forever, but some of the things that some of those students I still remember talking about, they'd be whispering to each other about, like my knuckles, and
Mm-hmm.
my knuckles are not from fighting or things of that nature growing up.
Oh,
That was
okay.
not that was not me, but they
Yeah.
thought I was like I was completely hard.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like,
Hey,
so you
man.
real, so you realize
Ain't
like.
nothing wrong with criminals thinking you're hard. That's not criminals. I'm just fucking around. That's fucked up. That's messed up. No, they're not. They're kids. I'm just messing around. But go
No,
ahead.
no, but it was always it's interesting to me just their take on how I was,
Yeah.
and so that's why we would take field trips out to where I grew up, out to the east side where Microsoft is, and I kept telling them that the Rainier Valley where you live, this is just where you live. All of this is accessible to you too.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to tell you that it's not because of who you are and where you live. And
Yeah.
so we went through all those kinds of things, and they, man, we're so deep, I don't know where we're at, and it's kind of freaking me out. But and it's like, this is why I'm bringing you here. I mean, you have
Yeah.
every right to be here too. And
Yep.
so when you look at me and think that I grew up where you grew up, I didn't. I don't know your experience. My experience is very different. And we start talking about those things. But yeah, Joshua, The Substitute. There's another film
The
that's
substitute.
exactly.
He's like, yeah, the
Yeah, the
substitute. Yeah. Yeah.
substitute. Lean on Me was another
Lean
one.
on Me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, all this stuff.
I was
Freedom
gonna.
Writers.
No, that's Freedom Riders. Yeah, that's another one. What's
Yeah.
the one? Is which one is the $1 million baby lady? Hillary Swank. Which one is that one? Hillary Swank. Which one's that
Oh
one?
yeah. I know exactly. Yeah, I forget the title of that movie, but yeah, she absolutely was in that teaching thing. I'm gonna save the world and all this shit.
Inner city kids and yeah.
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 I I haven't thought about I haven't thought about this memory in what I don't know, almost 30 years.
Mm.
When I was student teaching, I was student teaching at an elementary school, so K6, and one of the teachers we had like I think they were doing like a gift exchange program for the holidays or whatever. And the gift that I got was a mug, and on it said, "You touch the future." And I'm like, okay, I understand why you gave it to me. And we're all teachers, or I'm going to be a future teacher and all this kind of stuff. But I thought, that's the cheesiest fucking thing I've ever seen in my world.
I mean, it is, but I mean, from the heart, it is sweet, but it is cheesy as hell. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was like, and if we're teachers, I don't know if I want to be touching anything. So.
Oh yeah, you touched it. I didn't touch shit.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Hey, look it. Yeah. That's not my mug, not my prince, not my mug.
Yeah. I've got witnesses right here.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. That
whole
world. But
sorry, funny story. So, just because you made that joke, I was at the park a couple weeks ago. Just by myself. I like to go shoot some hoops. Like for me, shooting hoops is like therapy. I can clear my mind. There's nobody out there. Like it's cool. I'm out there shooting. It's a little kid, just sitting there playing with his truck. He just looks up every now and then, sees me shooting around, looks up every now. He has like probably 8, you know what I'm saying? Little redheaded kid. And he just keeps looking up. I'm shooting. He keeps looking up. I'm shooting. I see him looking at me. I'm just like, keep shooting. He keeps looking. And then one time I look, when he looks at the same time, he goes, and I was just like, you want to shoot? he's like, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, you weren't waiting for me to ask you if you wanted to shoot. You just just staring at me for the last 35 minutes. So I pass him the ball and let him shoot. And, he shoots one, he misses, he shoots. I was like, about a couple minutes goes by. And, I'm just expecting somebody to come over, like a camp counselor or like an adult, a parent, to be like, hey, is he okay? Like, oh yeah, we're just shooting, or like, oh, let's go, Timmy, or something. Like, so I'm expecting somebody to come say something at some point. And I'm thinking, yeah, he's probably gonna shoot a couple shots and he's gonna walk away, or somebody's gonna come get him. He's shooting, keep shooting, shoots a few more. Nobody comes and says nothing. Now I'm starting to get nervous. I've been hanging out with this random redheaded kid for the last 10 minutes, and ain't nobody came and said nothing. I'm sweating my ass off. I'm like, yo, I'm like looking. I'm like, is anybody watching us? Like, I know he does. Nobody thinks we're together. So it's like, like he's redheaded, I'm brown. Like nobody thinks we're together. And I'm sitting there, and he's just talking to me. He was having a good time shooting. I'm like giving him some tips because he's bricking them. He's not, he's not a basketball player. It's okay. So I'm like, hey man, keep your elbow in, follow through. I'm like, you give him some tips and stuff. He starts making them. I'm like, all right, cool. Still nobody's coming over. I'm like, God damn, anybody gonna stop this? And and I'm thinking about, and nothing happened. Like eventually I'm like, hey, let's see if you can make a couple in a row. The kid makes like 3 in a row, and I'm like, all right, let me see if I can beat you. And I make 2 and I miss one. I'm like, oh, you win, man. And I take that as an exit. Like, let me get out of here now. I don't know you, kid, and I'm uncomfortable. But it's just like that weird thing of just like, man, there was a time where if you went to a park and a kid wanted to play ball with you, it was just a kid wanting to play ball with you. Now it's just like, oh, I don't want anybody to look at me and think I'm trying to like do anything. Like it's unfortunate, but anyway, go ahead. That's just a side story.
No, and you're exactly right. And again, maybe this would be a topic that we kind of dive further into, is about where society's changed with that type of thing. When you have any type of person, say an adult, you have a young child by themselves in a place, a public place.
Like it's a thing. The kid was by himself for a while. I'm like, there's nobody checking on this kid. I'm getting uncomfortable now. Like, it was
like, I know that with me, like say if I'm in line, I was just in line at a concert last year. It's a younger crowd, which I'm not used to. And I'm just standing outside the venue with everybody else, and there's a young girl in front of me. She's probably like in high school. Looked like she was by herself. She wasn't with her friends yet. And I am not going to talk to her unless she broaches something with me, because I don't want to be seen as creepy. I don't want that thing. I realize that I don't have, here's that word, intentions that way. But she might turn to me like, I don't know you, and get the fuck away.
And be scared. You never know. Like you could be a stranger talking to her, and now she's scared, and then now that's a situation. This young girl, I didn't do anything. All I did was say hi, and now she's terrified.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to think that way because I don't want to end up somewhere that I don't want to be.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's been, man, it's unfortunate. It's fortunate, unfortunate, obviously, because there was a time in this country, like when I listen to the stories my mom tells, my dad tells about how they were coming up. There was a time we were very to just let the kid run off and just go. Like there was a time there was like you could be gone all day, nobody would even check on you. Like that was like, okay, so maybe we can reel that in a little bit, but now it's to a point where you're terrified to even talk to a kid. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's gotten so bad now to where it's just like, I don't even want the idea of it. And it's like, man, but what is that doing? Because you gotta think, we come from a time where it wasn't this heavy of a separation between far as how I'm trying to say what I'm saying. But there was a time where if you were at a park and a kid wanted to play ball with you, there wasn't even a thought of, oh, I'm trying something. It was just like, I'm playing ball with this kid. I want him to leave me alone so I can go back to doing what I was doing. But it's like, so there was a time where if a stranger was threatening, then there's a threat. But if it was just a person being a person around you, there was no threat. So it's like, what is that doing to the psyche for like a child's perspective, coming up on like, you have to be wary and this to every stranger, every person that comes up to you, you got to be like, it's like, so what is that doing to like the perception of the outside world to a young person? If we're like, hey, be careful, they're out there, be careful,
Yeah, no, that's very true. It becomes something that starts to reinforce the behaviors that have been taught to them, or the false or sometimes true, depending.
Because there are threats out there for sure, but it's just like, we don't need to be in a world where everybody's a potential threat.
Yeah, and we're definitely pushed that way. And again, for me being around, I've got a park not even 5 minutes from me. So if I walked over there and was doing like you were doing, shooting hoops or just minding my own business, and some little kid is wanting to join me just because they think it's kind of interesting, and then I purely say, okay, when I do you want to shoot hoops? You want to throw the baseball? Do you want to
Yeah.
do what? You want to pass the
Yeah.
football? And then some parent comes over and says, what the hell do you think you're doing with my kid? Or that kid,
Exactly.
whatever.
It's like, all right, well,
It's like,
she's-
I can't win. I was just minding
yeah,
my
yeah.
business. I was trying to be nice. And I used to be a teacher and I used to work
Yeah,
with
right. You
kids.
actually used to be an I know how to work with kids. Like I know how to talk to kids. Like this was my job for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I said, no, I meant nothing wrong or anything like that. Do what you need to do. But it's unfortunate that we're to that point.
Yeah.
And
And
again,
it's deep. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, for me also growing up in the 70s, and I'm sure even like, the 60s and probably the 50s, that they talked about that, it takes a village.
Yeah.
And
To raise. Yeah.
back then it actually was a village. Cause like my parents live in a cul-de-sac. So like the other neighbors that had kids that were my age or a little older, if I did something wrong, I still distinctly remember this. If I came up the hill and something happened and they heard about it, they could easily yell at me just like my parents would yell at me because they're trying to make sure that, you know what, you fucked up and it's not cool. You shouldn't do it. And vice versa. If my parents heard that their son or daughter did something, they say, hey, what the heck do you think you were doing with that?
Right.
If you did that now to somebody and you didn't have a good relationship with those neighbors,
accosted your neighbor's kid. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, they'd be getting in your face or trying to call the authorities.
If somebody accosted mine, that's physicalities. That'd be automatically physical. But it's like, yeah, don't talk to my kid. You don't know my kid. Like, fuck out of here. Like, I mean, I get that, but at the same time, my mom tells those same stories that where she lived was a bunch of people that knew each other and family members. So if she got in trouble at school or somewhere else, aunties on the block, cousins on the block, uncles on the block, grandma, like you're gonna get it on your way home. It's not just, oh no, I'm gonna go home and get it. It's like, no, you're getting it on the way home. Everybody that heard about what you did is going to have something to say. All your village that's helping raise you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for me, spending over 20 years professionally working with different families, different kids from all walks of life, different ages, and it's a trip at times about where we ended up. And that was a while ago. So even now, and again, I got kids where I live. I live in an apartment complex, and I've got kids walking down the street that I have to think twice about. If that kid's by themselves, do I just be pleasant and say, "Hey, hi," or just in passing, or do I just not even notice them? Because I don't want to misconstrue.
Unless there's a damn pit bull hanging off that kid's leg, you ignore him. You're like, no, nope. No, I'm just like, I don't know, man. Shit. I mean, there was one time it doesn't matter. It's unfortunate that we're just so scared of each other. Like, obviously, there's plenty of shit to address, and there's plenty of people out there that don't have people's best interests in mind. But it's unfortunate that we've just come to this place where everybody is so threatening. Everybody's they either got like an ideal that you don't agree with, or they feel this way about this, or they're trying to get you. They're trying to. It's like, why is there this just general people are just out to get you? Kind of feel. And like, I feel like there was a time where we expected a person to be a person, and if they acted outside of that, then like, oh, what the fuck is this guy doing, or what the fuck is this lady doing? It's like, not just expect everybody to be a wacko and be an asshole, and then when the nice one shows up, you're like, oh wow, there's a nice one. Like, when did that switch? Like, when is it like asshole nice? And it's like, when did we switch from person asshole? Like, when did that flip?
That is so interesting because I never thought about how people got the benefit of the doubt. So when you're meeting 9 out of 10 people, 9 of them are probably fine and they have no bad ill will or intentions.
And
then
there's probably one asshole.
Yeah, there's one asshole, one oddball, and then somewhere we're starting to assume the complete opposite, that there might be one nice one out of these 10.
One nice one. They might be one genuine one out of the bunch, maybe.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never really thought about that, but you're so right. That's where society is kind of taken, at least here in America.
Yeah.
But I do see that we're a little bit past our hour.
I knew that was going to happen, dude. I already knew that was going to happen.
No, that's okay. And then we're in control of this thing, so we can go a little bit longer. And
sure.
So outside of that, I'll try to finish up where I'm at now.
Okay.
I did work at a private high-tech college on the K-12 side of that college. And so I worked with a very different population. We had really, really intelligent college age students, because a lot of them were working part-time jobs for, I was one of the managers there. So they were working for our programs. I got to manage them, got to know them. And I got really lucky. They were such a really great young group of men and women and everybody else that I was there for over 2 years. And that was a very different experience because almost everyone's gifted. But they're also very nerdy and very introverted and very socially awkward. And I can relate to that because I'm an introvert and I definitely have a nerdy side to me. You heard me geek out with Drez about wrestling. So
I got a fidget spinner. So you're playing with a fidget spinner.
I did that for a little while, and then you mentioned that you had done janitorial in your background, and so have I.
Yeah. Or when it comes to jobs, go ahead.
I needed something to kind of pay the bills, and I didn't want to do what I had been doing for quite a long period of time. So I just wanted to get in there, do my job the best I can, and go home and not have to be thinking about work. Because all those jobs that I've had, you think about them when you get home. I mean, you just can't help it.
Yeah.
And so then you got to find ways to relieve your stress and find your balance and all that. And then right now, as people kind of know, I'm in the midst of landing another day job. And knock on wood, I might know something by either this week or next week. I've got another actual interview tomorrow in the afternoon. So we'll see. Next time I'm here with Drez, I will have updates about where I'm at with that process, because it's been a while. So that's definitely stressful. And anyone out there that's ever had to be on the hunt for a job, I know exactly what that's like. And I know when you don't have money and it just everything kind of feels like it's piling on you, everything that you're doing. And then you realize, well, at some point I'll get something, and this will kind of, the ship will start to get righted, and you'll be able to kind of feel good about things. And maybe you can spend, $20 on, some drinks somewhere.
One second. Kind of thing. Are you waiting to feel good about things? You want to get on that topic? That's something that I'm sorry. That's the thing. How you feel and your daily, how you treat yourself and what's going on outside of you, that whole concept of like letting your feelings be predicated on your outside world or predicated on how you truly want to feel. Anyway, go ahead.
No, see, this is another interesting topic from Drez that we'll be able to tackle. But luckily for me, having things outside of whatever my day job's been in the past, but once this media outlet started, Eclectic Arts, which I started from nothing, that's become my balance. That's the thing that I take ownership of in the present every time. And that's also, it's a really, really good reminder of how grateful I am for so many things. So if the outside world is starting to kind of put pressure on me, I have this other thing that flips it around. Some people, it's hard for them to find that, and I understand that, in their own lives. But just for those that are, if they're struggling right now, if they're watching this or listening to it down the road, that again, any guest I've had on, not just Drez, but anybody, they're just like everybody else. They have the same ups and downs, the same hopes, dreams, struggles, things, that dark periods in their life. And whether you agree with it, like it, don't like it, when I wake up tomorrow, there's going to be some level of light out here. There's going to be some other thing that's still going on, whether I wanted to or not. And thank you, Joshua. I appreciate your rooting for me. So I appreciate
Josh,
that.
you the MVP, brother.
And just know that I love, again, having this platform for the media outlet is one of many things that I do. And with day jobs, I think that's the other thing too, that even for me, it took a while to understand, like say I'm so into music that you might have a touring band that is not attached to a record label. So like, oh, you're in a band, you're playing shows, you've got albums out, you maybe have done some music videos, you must be doing pretty well. And then you find out, no, they go back home, they're trying to find another job because they lost their job when they went on tour. And so they're going to paint houses again, or they're going to wait tables, or they're going to do whatever. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the perception in a lot of people's heads, especially fans, is that, oh, well, you don't need this because you're not me. You're up here somehow. It's like, no, they're trying to find that balance too. If they could do it for a living, absolutely they would. But that's not reality.
That's the goal.
Yeah. When you got bills in your your online accounts or whatever, or people knock on your door or sending you phone calls or texts and shit like that, it's like, well, that ain't going away.
At all.
You got to figure that out. So maybe you have these things that you love over here, and just like I do, But that doesn't mean, I've never told people that this is what I do for a living as a
Mhm.
media person. But that
Yeah.
also, it's funny. I worked at the city of Kirkland, again, where I grew up, and I was working at City Hall for a little bit, about 2-3 years ago at this point. And I don't know how many people, when they found out what I did, they're just like, "So do you want to do that for a living?" And I'm like, "What kind of question is that?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Said
Yeah.
if I said if I could do this for a living, I would be out the door right now.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
not be. I would
Yeah.
not give you a 2-week notice. I wouldn't do nothing.
I feel like, but that's the thing. Like, oh man, when I worked at one of the warehouses I worked at the J. Crew warehouse for a while. And I remember having conversations with people that worked on the docks with. I was just loading and unloading trucks and stuff like that. And I remember having a conversation with people I was working with, and there was one young lady in particular. I asked her, what young lady? She was older than me, but she's a young lady, and she kids, husband, works a 9 to 5. Nothing wrong with that life, at all. And I asked her, it's like, what was your dream, or what is your dream? And or like, was there like, asking her if there anything like she like ever wanted to do, or like I asked her, pretty sure I said, what's your dream? And she's kind of looked at me like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? And I'm just like, well, the thing you want to do. Like, I know you work here, but what do you want to do? And she was like, I don't know, I want to go home. I was like, yeah, I get that. I want to go home too. But it was just like, it was a realization that obviously not everybody thinks the same way, but in my thinking, I just assume at least everybody's had the thought of what would I want to be when I grow up? Or what do I want to do? What's my dream? Like I assume everybody's had that thought. But then I realized not even everybody's had that thought. Not even everybody's had the thought of realizing what their dream is, even if it's just like a fantasy they never visit ever again. It's just something they thought of one time, like, oh, it'd be cool to be a rock star, and they never revisited it again. But that was their dream at one point. And it's like, so you ask somebody, well, what's your dream? And it's like, and they can't even tell you. It's like, so you never even had the fantasy of your dream. You never even like sat with it and just lived it in your mind, like, oh, that would be really cool. It's like, no, all you thought was possible for you was what you see in front of you. And it's like, man. So it's like, one, you're damn lucky to have a dream. One, to have something that speaks to you in a way where he's like, you can't let it go, you cannot give it up. I have been knocked down to my lowest on multiple occasions over the past 5 or so years. The one thing that stayed with me was the fact that I wanted to act. And it's like, okay, I know that's something I want to do, because every other thing I was like, oh, I'm going to try this. So I'm going to go to school for that, or I'm going to try this. And like all that stuff, soon as I was down bad and, out of it, all that shit flew. I don't want to do none of that shit. Fuck that shit. I don't want to do none of that. The only thing that stayed was the thing I truly actually want to do. And it's like, so when you have that thing that's no matter how bad life looks, you're just like, man, that's still good. That thing is still good. Some people don't have that. So it's just so, yeah, man, that's it's not a pity thing because everybody's journey is their journey, but it's like, man, just to be fortunate enough to have a thing that makes you feel alive, just to have that thing, whatever it is. It could be painting rocks. It don't matter, but you got something that you can go home and your world is okay if you do that thing, you know?
No, I totally relate to that. There is a film that was called, oh gosh, it's like a family thing, a family something or other, that starred James Earl Jones and Robert
Mm.
Duvall and Robert Duvall.
Ooh.
And I remember this line from that film from many years ago, and it stayed with me to this day. It
Uh-huh.
applies to what you're saying. And one of the characters says that um, the basically, I'm just paraphrasing,
Mhm.
that if you have something to look forward to, that's happiness. And it could be something extremely small. I'm going to see my friend on Friday. I haven't seen them for a while. I'm looking forward to going to this new restaurant. I can't wait to try that food. I'm going to go to the park because it's supposed to be sunny on Saturday. And some people don't have that. That's just like what Drez talked about.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations, many conversations over the years with somebody about, even if it's something basic, it's a Friday afternoon at 4:59. Hey, what do you got going on this weekend? Nothing.
Yeah.
Like, is it really nothing, or is it kind of like, well, you just don't want to talk about it? It's like, no, after time and time and time again, you kind of find out. You come back on Monday, hey, how was the weekend? What'd you do? And they don't really have anything. And I'm kind of like, wow, that's where their life is. They have not gotten to that point of having that fantasy or that dream, or if they did, they've kind of pushed it into a corner so far away that they're like, that's never going to happen. So
Yeah.
this is my reality, Mark.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't go there.
Mm-mm.
Again, it does not have to be this huge life-changing dream fantasy. It gets to be something that you're looking forward to
That's it.
now, next month, something. Because if you imagine waking up every morning and you don't have anything to look forward to day after day after day after day. Maybe you just love smelling, the spring air that we're officially going to have in a couple of days outside, wherever you happen to live. That could be something that you're looking forward to because you're tired of the cold, you're tired of winter.
Yeah.
But some people, just like just another day, just another day.
Well,
And
that's the thing, and that's the point. I think I think I was trying to make earlier, was about how we feel right now in this moment. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and if you think about it, that is the only thing in our world that we have immediate and complete control over is our mood in that moment. That is the one thing we can directly affect, our mind and our mood. We can have a different thought and feel a different feeling. So that's why I was talking about, I jokingly asked, are you waiting for your circumstances to change for you to feel good? And I asked that question jokingly because it was kind of douchey, but also, but it was also because what I've been tussling with lately is, yeah, I realize that my physical environment is not the one is not the ideal one I want for myself overall. I realize that there are things that I want, things that I want to do, places I want to be, experiences I want to have that I haven't had yet physically. Um, but does that mean that I must sit here and feel like shit about it just because it hasn't happened yet? Does that mean that until it happens, I'm gonna sit here and feel like, until those good things happen, I'm gonna sit here and feel like shit? And I was like, I don't want to spend my days feeling like shit and waiting. I don't want it just because I don't have this car or this house or this job. Like, so the only time I can be happy is if I have shit. The only time I can feel good is if I have shit. That's the only time. And I'm like, but why can't I feel good right now? I'm like, no, like, ask how, why can't I feel good right now? But why do I have to wait for everything to be perfect to feel good about myself? Why can't I just be appreciative of this place? Be appreciative that I'm not bedridden. I got air in my lungs. I got food in my fridge. And it's like, it's not even a grateful thing. It's just like, you genuinely have everything you need and more right now. You have money in your account, you have a working car, you have a home, you have a beautiful son, you have a beautiful woman that loves you, your mom's okay, your dad's okay, your auntie and uncles for the most part are okay, your cousin, your health is okay. What are you sad about? What are you so angry about? What don't you have that you need so bad to feel good about yourself? You got everything, man. You're alive. You got food. You're not in a place, a vegetable to the world. Like, you got your own 2 feet. You got your 2 hands. Do some shit. Go take a walk. Like, why do I have to sit here and stew and shit just because I don't have the shiny thing yet? It's like, I can still have a good time. I can still feel good about myself. I can still see myself as a man that can do things, that can accomplish things. Just because I haven't accomplished everything that I want to just yet, I'm still the man that's gonna accomplish them. I'm the same man. I'm gonna 20 years from now, yes, I'll have different ideas of perceptions, but the me that is beyond this body, this wherever you are, if you're here, if your soul, your mind, wherever you are, that being, that person is always there. The body is what changes. The body gets old. The body, people that are 80 that keep themselves, they still love life. They'll tell you they feel 20, but their body's 80 years old, but they got to a place where they love life so much they don't even feel their age. because they genuinely love the experience of getting up and having a time. So like that's what I'm talking about, man. It's like I'm sitting here looking at all this beautiful shit in my future and just and blocking out everything that's right here in front of me where I could do something with it. I can have fun with it. I can appreciate it. I can live. I can be alive while the things I want are developing. I don't have to wait to live. That's what I'm saying. It's like we have the perception, okay, when I get this job, when I got this money, life's gonna be life. And I'm like, you're living life right now. You're choosing to make it shitty by feeling shitty about it. And it's like but here's the thing. So but then there's the obviously the conversation of the true external factors of deaths in the family, getting laid off, sickness, all getting broken up with, dumped. Like, yeah, all those things are going to be happening when you're successful. So because they happen then, you're going to then, okay, now it's time to feel like shit about my life. It's like, no, you have a challenge that definitely needs your attention and your effort for sure. But your life in general, are you okay? You have a thing happening that sucks. Yes. It hurts. Yes. Losing people is a pain that is incomparable. But that doesn't mean our lives have to fall apart because we're in pain. It doesn't mean our lives have to fall apart because because we're behind on a bill. Our lives have to fall apart because they don't want to be with us anymore. Our life doesn't have to fall apart. We can still have practices and rituals and activities and routines that set us up to, if not feel good, at least feel functional. You know what I'm saying? We can do things for ourselves to where, hey, I'm getting rocked right now, but I'm keeping myself. And obviously, we're going to go through dark nights where we're just down in the dumps and we can't do shit and we're face down. But I mean, that's going to happen when you're successful too. All these things that we think are going to be better when we're successful, they're going to happen when we're successful. So you're going to feel better about those things later just because you got some more. It's like, no, losing somebody is losing somebody. Being dumped is being dumped no matter how much money you got, no matter how much notoriety you got. It's going to hurt the same. So your relationship to your experiences, your relationship to your pain, that doesn't change with your success. That comes from here and in here.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, I love that you take the time to express those things because, and I see Josh was talking about attitude is everything, and it's one of the few things you can control, and it's
Yeah.
true. And so it's so easy. And Drez just spent a few minutes here, kind of talking about that. We lose sight, and I definitely do. You lose your perspective that when these things happen, then this other stuff it will go away.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no. I mean, if
No,
I win the lottery today and somebody dies the day after that,
you still
I'm
got
gonna
the money.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel like shit.
Yeah.
Um,
And you
and
feel like shit.
temporary,
You got millions of dollars feeling like shit.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's I think maybe the majority of folks kind of get stuck in this trap of that. Yeah, these things that I identify with somehow they make these are the positive things, and I don't have the positive things right now. It's like, well, no, you do have the positive things right now, and you also have maybe some things that aren't so positive. Same thing is going to happen over here. Um, you're gonna be like, yeah, now I'm riding high. I just got $600,000 in my bank account, and I just got the promotion, and I got whatever else, and then something else happens, and you're like, but I have all these successful things. Why did this happen? It's like
Yeah.
because that's part of
Because
life,
because
unfortunately.
life is still happening. Yes, you're
Yeah.
living your life. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It's like I like I feel like it's a hard point to make because when you tell somebody just to feel good or feel better, and you can choose to feel better, then they're going to be like, I'm just supposed to feel good about this person leaving. I'm supposed to feel good about not having deficit. Like, no, those things suck. I'm saying you don't have to. You don't. We just because we have things in our life that suck, don't mean we have to be depressed about them. Like that, we don't have to be. Like, obviously, if you're experiencing a depression or if you have a so-called a chemical imbalance, like we're not saying ignore your feelings, but I'm saying just because this didn't work doesn't mean this right here still isn't gold. It's like it's like my life right now. Here's a full disclosure. Right now, acting prospects, as far as I know, jobs, as far as like, jobs that I really want to do that I know on prospect that are on the rise right now. I don't. I'm working and trying just like everybody else. I don't have there's nothing there's nothing I could say right now that I have going on that would make you think, oh, he's got it, he's made it, he's good. Like nothing. I have none of that stuff. None of the stuff. Like I haven't. I tell, if you tell an actor, like, well, you got an agent and a manager. You tell an actor that doesn't have an agent and a manager, that they'll be like, well, fuck you. But regardless, like the stereotypical things as an actor that you would think a successful actor would have, or like a actor that's like, I don't. Nothing in my life points to successful actor except the fact that I'm still acting and still on this journey. The success is the fact that I still love what I do and I'm still pursuing it, and it's still feeding me this wonder feeling that it fed me the first time I tried it. But so the point I'm making is that nothing in my physical reality is telling me that I'm a success right now. Nothing. But this genuine feeling that I have literally worked on curating, because I got tired of feeling the other way. I got tired of the perpetual sadness, the perpetual hole, the perpetual emptiness that I felt like right here, like this all my life. There was just something like, even no matter how good I was doing, there was an underlying little bit of in there. There was always there, always there. No matter how good it was always right there. And it's like, I'm tired of feeling that shit. What is that? And I'm realizing it's the waiting for the next thing. It's the better things coming, or like, oh, this is okay, but it's not the thing that I actually want. So it's like I'm never in a place of receiving the things that I want, because I'm always thinking, this isn't it, it's the next thing. This isn't it, it's the next thing. And it's like also with life, like, oh, this version of life isn't good, it's the next version. No, not the vision, it's the next one. And it's like, I got tired of doing that, saying that the next version of my life was going to be better. The next version of my life is going to be better. It's like, why can't my shit be good right now? Regardless of where I am, regardless of my physical surroundings, why can't my life be good right now? Why not? What's preventing it from being good? And when you think about it, it's our decision and how we approach our day to day, and how we talk to ourselves, how we treat ourselves every day. That's what's stopping our lives from being good in the present. Because if you predicate your life on the physical surroundings and like, oh, my life is good if I have this, if I have this job, if I'm doing this, if I know these people, then you're always going to be in a state of lack, because you're never going to have all the things you want, because there's always going to be new shit that you want. There's always going to be new shit that you want. If you get the thing you want most in life right now, tomorrow you're going to want something else. You can get the exact thing you've been praying for your entire life given to you. Here it is. Tomorrow, you're going to think of something else you want. Wild, right? So it's like, it's like we must, for any kind of semblance of peace in our day to day, is to really see the gold and the treasure we are surrounded with presently. Because if we keep telling ourselves the best version of our life is tomorrow, it'll never be today. That sounded cheesy as fuck, but I meant it. Because it's really like, I don't, just because I don't, it's like saying, I don't know what it's like saying. It's just, you get tired of feeling like shit, man. You get tired of it. You get tired of waking up and being like, oh, I don't have this again. Oh, I'm not this guy yet. Oh, I don't have this, or I'm not. It's like, don't you get tired of doing that every day? Every day, your life is just not enough. I'm just like, but why is it not enough? Because you're predicating your peace and happiness on the physical things around you. It's like, if you can just literally like, hey, I'm trying, man. I'm doing my best. Like, I'm getting up and I'm putting my best foot forward. What else can I do? Like, literally, what else can you do every day but set your intention and then try? That's it. That's all you can do. You have no control of like this thing. This thing is actually going to happen. You. There's no way you tell me, bet me $1 million right now that in 6 months This YouTube channel will pay all your bills.
Can't
You
do
can
it.
exactly you can because you don't
You don't
know.
con- you don't
You don't
control
you,
that.
all you can control is how you feel about your life right now. That's the only thing you can control. That's it, man. And it's like but there's peace, there's relief in that, because that takes the pressure, because we get caught up in factors that are so outside of our medium. Like I'm like I obviously a successful acting career to me is somebody making, six figures a year, providing for the family as an actor. That's a successful actor to me. Somebody that can pay their bills and live comfortably just off acting, just movies, and you're living a life, dude. You're doing exactly what you want to do, and you're making great money doing it. Like, but fuck, I forgot the point I was making with that. Shit. Sorry, go ahead, man.
Well, clearly we have lots to discuss moving forward, which is
Yeah.
exactly why I wanted to start with Drez. And Joshua, I know you're still with us, so thanks for hanging in there with us. And um, it sounds like a lot of what we're saying, though, is resonating not only with Joshua, but maybe some other people that are watching and listening out there. So that's,
I hope so, man. I hope so. I just
yeah.
want I just want folks to be okay. Because you get tired of not being okay, and then you realize how much work it takes to feel okay about yourself, and then so you're just like, man, I just want y'all to be okay, because being okay is fucking tough.
Yeah, no, I know that, and again, we're not going to go for like another half an
Yeah,
hour
yeah,
in this
no, I
session,
got you.
but with people that I've encountered in my own life, and I'd say at least at this point, it's been maybe 15 years of a deliberate change for me,
Mm,
has been a change of perspective, a change of things, and it really comes down to that, for at least for me, to start and figure out, like, I could sit here and talk about how I'm really disappointed about this, and this, and how come this
right.
didn't happen. And then the next day it's the same shit of this, and like next thing you know, you're in this hole that, like, how the fuck did I get here?
Yes.
And it's like, you know what? It was actually you.
The
You,
whole time. The whole
yeah,
time.
it was you. You're the one that got yourself here, Mark. So if you're aware of that, and luckily in many cases I was, then I can figure out, oh yeah, I don't don't start doing that pattern.
Yeah.
And then, like Drez was
But
talking
that's the
about,
thing. You had to recognize the pattern first, though.
yeah,
That's a whole thing right there. Is recognizing your own patterns of self sabotage. That's a whole thing.
yeah, absolutely. And it was one of the biggest things, like we were talking about earlier, about having that those moments in your life where something deliberately changed wherever it was going to go. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's one of those things that then start opening up all these other things over here. And not that those things are going to make your life better, but then on the day-to-day basis, I approach things differently, and the
Mm-hmm.
way that my world is around me, and people pick up on that too. That's the interesting thing. You're
Yes.
just trying to be like maybe another version of yourself,
You're just trying to be okay. You're just trying to
yeah.
be okay.
Yep. And then people are come around you, and maybe they're not okay, or maybe they're still doing whatever they do, and then they haven't seen you in, I don't know, a few months or something. They're like, man, is there something different about you, Mark? And it's like, well, this is kind of what I've been doing and what I've been working on, but it's still very much me. It's just that I'm looking at things a little bit differently, and I'm also acting a little bit differently, and I'm interacting differently with
Yeah.
people as well.
Yeah.
So, because I
That's
can
the
think
thing.
of it,
But the foundation of it was what? Your perception, your
yeah,
change in how you felt about yourself in your day, in your physical, in reality. Like you decided, like, hey, I keep telling myself shit every day. I'm gonna stop telling myself shit every day. I'm gonna start telling myself some good things, some things I actually want to
mm-hmm.
hear. I'm gonna start saying those things. And you just making that little shift, that fucking tiny little shift, it changed your entire world. The way you work, the way you speak, the way you interact with people, the way people interact with you. And it's like that saying of to I don't know how it go. I'm gonna fuck it up, but to change the world first, change your own, because that's
Mm-hmm.
where it, like literally, because when you change your world, when you heal those things, or when you address those patterns or whatever, when you start to exact, and start to enact those healing activities, or those strengthening activities, like you said, people see that on you, they smell it on you, that you start moving different and talking different, and you start standing up a little straighter, you start speaking a little louder, put a little more bass in your voice, and all of a sudden people are like, what the fuck's Mark talking about? It's like, so yeah, hell yeah, man.
Yeah, no, it absolutely came down to a change of perspective, and it became something of like really kind of a rebuilding process. And it was actually interesting to watch and kind of just basically be a part of. And
You
so for
became
folks
the
that,
observer.
yeah, and again, I mean, we could go for hours about these things,
Dude,
and
sure.
and that's also why I'm so glad that Drez has agreed to do these sessions at least once a month, because I know I got the right person.
Yeah, need somebody to talk. Oh man,
um,
you know what's funny? Every year, just small little story again. Every year, kindergarten through fifth grade, every parent-teacher conference, the teacher said the same exact thing. He's a good kid. He just distracts all the other kids. Every year, same thing. It got to the point by third grade, my mom said, "Let me guess, he's a distraction." And they were like, "Yeah, but he gets his work done." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. He gets it done so he can fuck with everybody else."
oh, that's too fun. That's too. Oh man, yeah. And again, it sounds like we both have things, and definitely like stories upon stories, if we're talking about different parts of our life and we're in elementary school age or anything else. And I know I definitely have things that I could talk about.
Yeah, man.
So we have a few things that we can definitely be going through, and it's going to be like all over the place. And again, if it's Joshua, if it's other folks that are watching or listening, you can
Chime
put
in.
yeah, chime in. Let us know. You can always DM me again on Instagram, because I look at all that stuff every day, and we would love to have your interaction with us. It makes that it's not just Drez and I. It means it becomes bigger than us in terms of what we're doing.
Oh,
And
don't worry, man. I could fill up some runtime.
really, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
But it's always a beautiful thing when we have interaction with anything that we do. If it's one person, if it's a million persons, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, if you're genuinely interested in what we're talking about and it's working with you, or just even if it's just entertaining to you. I watched the one that I did yesterday on my TV, which I've never done. I was trying to actually see technically how it came out, and the next thing I know, the thing was over. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, it was good old conversation, man.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, there's something here. It's not
Yeah.
just me thinking that,
Yeah.
you're pretty good. And it's like, well, no, this was actually interesting to me. So,
Yeah.
and like we said earlier, I follow my path because this is the path that I'm I find a lot of joy in. It's things that I want to be doing. It's things that I'm passionate about. And if you're, joining up right now, if you've been following me for 5 years or whatever, I love it. I absolutely love it. And if you can share some of your things, if you're comfortable with that, that's always great too. I've gotten to know some people that only through online, and then sometimes they've actually shown up here for a different, if they're on vacation or they're here for a band or whatever. And it's so interesting talking to somebody in person that I already know a bunch about. It's like, and even sometimes that's even the guest, like if Drez finds himself in Seattle for some reason, we actually meet up for a beer somewhere. That would be just crazy to me, but it would be also awesome that you're physically here. I could punch you on the shoulder and he's actually here.
Tangible, real flesh and blood.
Yeah. And now I got to figure out how I'm going to get out of this in an hour or whatever.
Yeah, I know, right? That's the thing about doing this over here. You can turn it off anytime you want. Can't turn people off.
But so definitely, again, give us feedback. We plan on coming back in April. We'll do another session. Drez and I will talk offline and kind of figure maybe we want to do an hour and a half every time, just to make sure that we have plenty of time to talk if it works for our schedules. We don't have bosses for this. We are the bosses for this. So that's what's really great, and we can figure these things out, and we'll kind of figure out where we're going to steer. And again, if we have your input, then you're going to help steer us in whatever direction that we're going to go for the next session as well. So everybody that's watching and listening, thank you. Drez, obviously, thank you, sir, for joining me today. This was awesome. It felt like a bit like therapy, which I like.
Hey, for me too, brother. Hey, I'm working through it with you.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. My last thing I'll say was that I mentioned, I think it was to my mom, that that the way not this one, but the interview we did a couple weeks ago, it felt like a men's group. That's kind of what it felt like. And I love that fact. That's what it was, that we can talk about basically anything under the sun. And I know people, it will resonate with them absolutely, because they're feeling the exact same thing that we're talking about. So
the exact same thing. We're just walking around thinking we're different.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone have a great night where you are. Be well, and then Drez, I'll see you next month.
I'll see you, man.
Thank you, sir. Bye bye.
See you. Oh, you're welcome.